Alright guys, welcome to another video. So today I do want to talk about podcasting and podcast recording. Now I was recently talking to a friend and he was into podcasting and he wanted to record podcasts. However, he was using software that he said was very expensive and he found it extremely expensive to actually record podcasts. So I did a bit of research and I found a few options that are currently used in the market for podcasting and recording podcasts, especially with the guest. So here are a few of the options that I found. Now, one of the popular ones is Riverside. Now, Riverside does have a free version. In the free version, it includes up to 720p video quality, which is actually not very high. It will have a watermark as well, and it's 44.1 kilohertz audio quality, which is fine, which is good. It does actually include video calls as well, and live streaming at 720p. So that's not a bad option, but it only gives you 2 hours of recording per month. So that's really not much at all. If you wanted to actually create a YouTube channel using podcasts, 2 hours a month is not going to get you anywhere. Now, if you pay a bit of money, it's going to cost you $15 a month for a standard. That just gives you 5 hours of multi-track recording, and $24 a month is a pro version. If you want anything higher than that, you need to get in contact with them. So that was Riverside. The next one I did find was online was Squadcast. Now Squadcast does have a free version as well, and this is only an hour of recording a month. So you're really not going to get any value out of using this service. If you do want more, if you want 10 hours of recording a month, you need to pay $12 per user per month. Creator is $24 and business is $40. Right? So the price does go up as you want more recording time. And if you want to take podcasts seriously and you want to actually use it in your business, well, it is definitely going to cost you. So that's another option called Squadcast. Another one I found was Podcastle. Now they also do have a free version, and that is multi-track recording of a maximum of 10 guests, which is not a bad number. However, it's 3 hours of video recording for the lifetime of. So if you sign up, you'll only get 3 hours of video recording, which is not much at all. That's not going to help. And just like the other options, you got $12 for this one, 24, and then you need to contact them again for a custom quote for more than that. And one of the other popular ones is StreamYard. This one is used extensively for live streaming. I know it is quite popular. However, um, just like the other ones, they do have a free version, and that gives you a maximum of 6 people on screen and a local recording of 2 hours a month. So that's the same situation as all the others. It's just going to give you 2 hours a month, which is really not much at all. If you do want to record more, you need to pay $36 a month or $69 a month. So all these three versions I just actually went through, they all are paid versions and it does cost a fair bit. So my friend was actually using Riverside, and he did say that he would love to record podcasts, but it does cost him a fair bit, so he wasn't really keen on using it. So today's video, I wanted to talk about a free option to go ahead and record these podcasts. There's no upfront payments, there's no monthly fees, it's completely free. You can use it as many times as you want, and you can have as many guests as you want from it. Now that software is called VDO.Ninja. VDO.Ninja is essentially a browser-based software. It is 100% free, just like you see over here. It is 100% free. There are no downloads needed, and it does not collect any personal data, and there's no sign-in required for the application either. Using this application, you can actually bring in live video from your phones as well, remote computers, or you can bring in guests, just like we would for a podcast. It does use peer-to-peer technology. So essentially the way VDO.Ninja actually works is that it uses WebRTC, which is a peer-to-peer technology. And what it actually does, it actually uses a mesh network. So the latency that you do receive from VDO.Ninja is extremely low. It is actually lower than any of those other options that I just showed you. Now, there is a server option as well for VDO.Ninja, but even using that, I've tried it and the latency is extremely low, even using the server option. So today what I'm actually going to do is talk about VDO.Ninja, show you how to use it, and how to actually bring it into OBS Studio. Now OBS Studio is another software that we will use in conjunction with VDO.Ninja, and OBS Studio is where we would record our video, and VDO.Ninja is where we would bring in our guests. So that's really all it is. VDO.Ninja is actually custom built for OBS Ninja. So it actually uses OBS and it is actually custom built for it. So let's actually go ahead and get started with this one. So the first thing you want to do is web browse to VDO.Ninja, and I'm going to go refresh my page. And there we go. So now we're actually looking at the application. Now, this is going to be a very basic podcasting recording 101 tutorial. So I'm actually not going to go into advanced operations of VDO.Ninja or OBS. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and create a room. Click on create a room, and you can give your room a room name. I'm going to give it podcast recording. That's my room name, podcast recording 101. Let's just call it that. And now we have the option of giving it a password. You don't have to, but I do recommend giving it a password because that allows for only your guests who you've sent the link to actually join. And if someone else gets a hold of the actual link, they will not be able to join. So I do recommend putting in a password just for the sake of this test. I'm going to keep it really simple. I'm going to give it today 1234 with a capital T. That's my password that I'm going to use, and podcast recording 101 is the room name. Now, don't let this get daunting. There are a few options over here. It does get a little technical. However, you don't need to actually do anything else to make this work. But I'm actually going to just show you this option. So preferred video codec, you can actually drop this down, and it does give you a few other video codecs that you can use. However, if you select default, it'll automatically use the right codec for your web browser. So I'm going to leave it at the preferred video codec as default. I'm going to keep these unchecked, and I'm going to go ahead and enter the room's control panel as a director. So I will be the director because I'm starting the room, and so that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to enter the control panel. So this is what you see. This is the control panel, and very similar or the same concept as one of your Zoom dashboards or your MS Teams or your Skype dashboards that you have in the past. So it's really straightforward. It tells you that there's an invite guest. So this is the link to provide to your guest when you invite them. And then there's a group scene guest, which I'll get into a bit later on. So here's what we want to do. We want to invite a guest, right? So we want to copy the link. And this is the link that you would send to your guest when you're inviting. So copy the link, and I'm going to pretend like I'm actually one of the guests on this show. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open a new tab, and I'm going to paste the link down here. It's going to prompt me for a password, and I'm going to type in today 1234. Great, and I'm going to go OK. Now it's going to ask me to join the room with my camera, and I'm going to go ahead and select that. And here we go. I have a whole bunch of, virtual cameras that I can select from. I'm going to go select Polypop camera over here. As you can see, my audio source is coming through as well for my microphone. And I'm going to go ahead and say start. Now, this is the host or the guest, whatever you want to, whatever you like. And so one person has actually joined, as you can see. And if I go back to my control room, I actually see that I have come across, or the guest has actually come across in the control room. It shows that that person has actually joined. That's great. Now, usually for podcast or video recording, you usually have two people, right? So you've got one person, which is the host or the guest, and now you want to invite the second person. Maybe I'm going to invite the host. So I'm going to copy the link again, and I'm going to open up another tab, and I'm going to say, pretend that I am the actual host joining the podcast. Put the password in. It's the same password needed for the host and the guest because it's the same link that they're using. Press OK. Join room with camera. And this time I'm going to select another virtual camera just to make it look different. And this is the host that's going to join. Or maybe we can call this the guest. So this is the guest. Okay, this is the host. The one with the blue screen is the host, and this one is the guest. Great. So now you can actually see that both of them have joined. This is the host and this is the guest. So they are actually seeing each other. And if I go back to the control room, I do see both of them have actually come across to my control room. So if I'm a director and if I'm not participating in this podcast, let's say I'm just managing it, just like a moderator of a Zoom call or a MS Teams call, I would actually be behind the scenes and I would be looking at the control room, right? So just on a basic level, this is the control room and I can see both the guests and actually have their audio as well coming across to me. Now I'm going to go ahead and mute their audios. Perfect, just so I don't get any feedback. Great. So now that we've got everything going in VDO.Ninja and the host and the guests are getting ready for the podcast, what me as the moderator would do is I would actually go ahead and spring up my OBS software. So what I need to do is bring in the host and the guest's videos into OBS, right? In order for me to actually use this software to record them. So I'm going to go back to my control panel. Now, right at the bottom over here, you can see that there are separate links for my host and my guest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first copy the link to my host. All I need to do is click on it and it says copy to clipboard. And I'm actually going to go back to OBS. I've already named the first scene as host. And I'll go ahead and add a browser source. And I'm going to call this host video. Okay. And all I'm going to do, once the browser source opens, in the URL section, I'm going to paste what I copied. That is the URL for my host. I'm going to double check that URL. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to copy that link again, go back to OBS, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that link right over here. Great. So that is my URL. Just like I mentioned before, this uses WebRTC or web technology. So it uses a browser source and brings everything in browser sources. So all I've gone ahead and done is paste my URL. Now, I want my resolution to be the same resolution as my canvas and the same resolution as, most of the majority of platforms, which is 1080p. So I'm going to go ahead and change my width and my height. I'm going to call this 1920. I'm going to set it to 1920 width, and my height, I'm going to set it to 1080. Right? So that's what I've done. I'm going to say control audio via OBS because I want to make sure that I have full control of the person's audio, volume control of the person's audio when they do actually show up in my recording software. So I'm going to make sure that's check marked, and I'm going to just hit OK. And as soon as I do that, in a moment, you'll actually see that my host video has shown up in OBS. I'm going to do the same thing for my guest. So right here in OBS, I'm going to click plus, and I'm going to create another scene, and I'm going to call it guest. Okay, great. I'm going to go back to my control panel for VDO.Ninja. I'm going to copy the solo link of my guest. Same process. Go back to OBS, and I'm going to add a browser source again, and I'm going to call it guest video. Perfect. Okay. Same process. I'm going to go ahead and paste that URL that I just copied, make the width 1920 by 1080, control audio by OBS, and OK. And now we go. We've got the guest right over here. So now we've got two scenes. I can switch between the host when the host is speaking, and then I can switch to the guest when the guest is speaking. Now I'm going to actually take it a step further, and I do want an additional scene with both of them together as a long shot. So there are a couple of ways to do this. One way is I could create another scene. I could call this scene guest, call it host and guest. Okay. And now what I could do is click on the plus icon, and I can select a browser source here, and I'll go back to my video control panel, and as you can see, I have an option over here to capture a group scene. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link right here. copy link. It's copied to my clipboard. I'm going to go back to OBS and I'm going to call this group scene. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and paste that URL right over here. Same thing, give it the 1920 width by 1080 height. Control audio via OBS enabled. Scroll down, check everything else, and I'm going to press OK. As you can see, I have a scene with both my host and my guest right here in the scene. So now I can actually switch between the host, the guest, and a combined scene between both of them. Now, on a basic level, here you've got a basic recording that you could actually go ahead and do, and you could edit it later on with post-production. You could put names and things like that. You could do that in post-production, but you can also actually do that within VDO.Ninja itself. But that is for a more advanced tutorial that I will go over the next time. However, this is one way of getting the group scene together. But what if you wanted to actually make changes, make a little bit of space in between the host and the guest during the group scene? So what we can actually do is, rather than bringing a standard group scene that we've just captured from a group scene from VDO.Ninja, another option that I do want to leave with you is I can go ahead and say, rather than doing this, I'm going to go ahead and add them individually myself. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this group scene. And rather than bringing in the group scene from VDO.Ninja, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another source. And this time I'm going to add a scene source. As you can see, I've got a few scenes we created earlier. I've got the host scene. So I'm going to go ahead and add the host scene. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another source, which is a scene again. And I'm going to select the guest scene. Perfect. So now I've got the host scene and the guest scene. However, one is overlapping over the other. So what I'm going to do first is the guest. I'm going to make him a bit smaller. Bring him up here slightly. And then I'm going to go back to my host. And I'm going to do the same for my host as well. And so now, as you can see, I have the host and the guest right over here. And I can do several things with this. I can actually change the color of the background. I could arrange it slightly differently, just the way I really want to. I could actually create an entire template for OBS and actually have lower third names and things like that for my host and the guest. And all I really need to do now is go ahead and hit start recording. And when I do that, it's just going to start recording this session. And once you're actually done with the podcast, you can go ahead and do your switching. The host is speaking right now. The guest is. This is a combined view of both of them. I can go back to the host when he does speak, the guest, and so on and so forth. And once I'm done recording, I can just go and stop recording. And there we go. We've already completed our recording. We've got the file that's actually gone ahead and recorded in the folder. So if you want to find out where your file actually recorded, you can go to output and right here, the recording. So it's recorded in my C drive and it actually recorded in my videos folder. So that's where the recording would actually go. And you can actually capture that and use it for post-production. So that's really it. That's really the way of recording using VDO.Ninja. And if you compare that, that is absolutely free. It's a free software to use. No costs and nothing to download. Works in an extremely similar way to any of these other options that are available in the market, but it's just that it's free. And of course, there are several different features that exist for VDO.Ninja. So that's really all I wanted to show you for this video. For the next few, I will go more in depth into VDO.Ninja and OBS for recording and the other processes that can be used to actually customize these recordings to make them even better. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening. Do please like, share, and subscribe. Definitely helps the channel out. And yeah, happy recording.